guys, so I'm no longer in Northampton. I've decamped to another area of the UK and I will tell you about that later. But whilst I was in Northamptonshire, there were a few little snippets of things that didn't really fit into other videos, so I thought I'd just cover them here, a little bit of behind the scenes in Northampton. A huge shout out to my mum's Full English. People often ask what's in a full English breakfast. Well, it's mushrooms, beans, sausages, tomato, bacon, fried bread, eggs, and this special delicacy here, black pudding, which is a type of blood sausage. Put that all together and you've got a full English. But you also need to add a splash of HP sauce, which stands for Houses of Parliament sauce. It's a slightly spicy vinegar ketchup. We don't usually eat so much, but we had friends over, so it was a bit of a feast. Alright guys, it's the 4th of July 2024 and that means it's General Election Day. I'm not usually in the UK for the general elections, so a family member has my proxy vote, which means that they can vote on my behalf. But I am here today and I am going to go and cast my own vote. So we're just going to walk up the village to the village hall and go and do that. I put my vote in the little plastic bucket, then it was off to the pub, this time the Red Lion at Thornby, for a post-vote celebratory drink, or 5. That evening we watched as the exit polls came in. In the UK, this is where people sit outside voting stations and ask people who they voted for. These polls give a rough but usually quite accurate idea of which way the vote is likely to go. The exit polls predicted a crushing defeat for the Tories, and by 2:30 AM, which is when I finally went to bed, that's what had happened. The next day, it was into Northampton to the ear clinic. So for the past couple of years, I've had this really horrible feeling in my right ear, and I had no idea what it was. I'd kind of scratch it and itch it, and it would be kind of a squelching sound usually when I was trying to sleep at night, and I put my head on the pillow and it got really irritating. I was scratching it a lot, wasn't sure what was going on. Got to this point, as I guess neurotic people do, where I started to wonder if a bug had actually crawled in there and died. You know, I was kind of, they say we swallow spiders in our sleep. Have I got, I don't know, an earwig in my ear that's actually expired? Is that what's causing this? So when I got back to the UK, I kind of told my mum about this and she packed me off to Northampton Ear Clinic, and this wonderful, wonderful lady called Jane, who is just so passionate about fixing people's ear problems. I've never seen anybody with such a high Google star rating as Jane. Like, everybody loves her, and it's easy to see why, because I was feeling a little bit embarrassed about this. I didn't really want to have somebody poking around in my ear, but she made me feel so comfortable. She was just absolutely brilliant, and she fixed the problem. So it turned out that nothing had died in my ear. It was just a really bad build-up of wax that had happened quite deep down in the ear canal, and she just had a little look in there with her telescope, and then she made me sit with my head to one side while she put in some eardrops, and she spent a long time just massaging it, and then she used a little sucky machine, like a tiny, tiny miniature Hoover, just to pull it out. And it's been brilliant. I feel like I'm hearing in surround sound again, whereas I didn't even realise that it was affecting me that much until she'd taken it out, and then I went, oh, that's what the world's supposed to sound like. But thankfully it didn't cause any lasting damage, and she reassured me. She told me that my ears were very, very healthy, which is good.
This ear was your one that you came in with.
Yeah.
There's your eardrum.
Oh my goodness.
Beautiful and clear. That blood supply coming in.
Yeah.
The red air, it's supposed to be like that.
Oh, good.
It's the blood supply that
But
provides the malleus and the drum with its blood supply. Beautiful. There we go.
that one's not as red.
Not as red. Your right one was more blocked and it was quite deep down. It will settle down. It's just, it doesn't like being pushed. So it's absolutely beautiful.
I also popped into my family dentist. So I've had the same dentist my entire life, which makes me very lucky because, you know, he can kind of monitor how my teeth go over the years. And thankfully, they were all fine as well. On the way home, I popped into the supermarket with Mum and we explored the food aisles. Right, so now we're going to talk arachnids, and I know a lot of people don't like these, so I'll leave a timestamp below if you just want to skip over the spider bit. But this was quite an entertaining story because in all the years that I've lived in Rwanda, I have never seen a big spider in my house. You know, I've never seen anything poisonous in my house. We have remarkably few creepy crawlies in sort of urban settings. It might be a bit different if you're out in the countryside, but in the Kigali urban centre, we don't have a lot of big bugs, except for the cockroaches, which are quite big. But I came back to the UK and my second day, I was in the shower. I hadn't quite woken up properly and I kind of glanced down and there was a sponge in the shower tray. And I was kind of looking at it thinking, something is moving on that. So I picked it up and I found this spider that was half drowning because there was a little bit of water in the tray and it was desperately trying to escape the water. I went, oh, you know, felt a bit sorry for it. As I picked the sponge up, bless its heart, it just let down a thread and went straight down towards the ground. But because I think it was a bit shocked, it was maybe slightly waterlogged, it was the funniest thing. It just put up its legs like this and went down like that and smacked into the ground face first. And it just sat there like this for a minute. I felt so sorry for it. So I got a little piece of paper and I put it up on top of the memory box that I've told you about before, which had a little bit of carpet. So I thought, oh, it can dry off on top of that. And very soon it was wandering around. And I was looking at it thinking, you know, that is actually, you know, it's quite a fat spider for the UK. And I also kind of noticed that on the back, it had a funny pattern. And it had a little white marking. And I was looking at it thinking, yeah, that kind of looks like a skull, doesn't it? And I don't know what made me think of it because, you know, I haven't really listened to British news for years. But I remember in the back of my mind that some years ago there was something on the TV about, killer spiders in the UK, oh, we're all going to die. And they were called false widows. And I don't know what it was, but just something in my head must have remembered that and thought, yeah, that skull, that's not a, I better just go and check. And I looked it up and I was like, oh, it is. That is a false widow. It's the first time I'd ever seen one. So what they are is apparently they came to the UK about 100 years ago from the Canary Islands, and they've since spawned prolifically, like they've bred everywhere. My brother was helping his friend to take down a shed the other day, and he said, yeah, there were like loads of them in there. So I think they are related to the black widow, but kind of like redbacks in Australia, they're really only dangerous if you're somebody who's going to go into anaphylactic shock. You know, they don't bite you and kill you. I don't think there's actually been a recorded fatality from one, but they can cause a bad reaction in some people. But they're also non-aggressive spiders, and through my research I discovered this wonderful guy who has this channel, and all he does is to talk about the spiders that you find in your home, and it's brilliant, it's delightful. I'll leave a link below. But he was saying, yeah, they're not aggressive spiders. They don't like go after you. If they see you, they will try and hide. And they're only going to bite you, you know, if they get caught in a nasty situation where they think they're going to get hurt. So I actually felt quite privileged to meet this spider and to see it up close, because I got some photographs of it really, really up close, and you can really see that skull shape on it. So yeah, I was kind of excited. It was kind of cute. I just let it do its thing. thing, and like 5 minutes after it almost drowned and face planted itself into the ground, it was busy eating something it had just caught. So, you know, all power to it, cute little thing. It's wandered off and done its thing. I haven't seen it since. But I thought that was kind of interesting. We also popped to Banbury to have lunch with Dad and Marilyn. They were in Scotland last time I was in the country, so I hadn't seen them in a couple of years. We had a lovely lunch at the Pinto Lounge, and I fell in love with Fentimans Rose Lemonade. Just the right combination of sweet and sour. The food was really good, and I finished up with a delicious banoffee cheesecake. Highly recommended. Our plates were all clean by the end. So, with food in my stomach, I should address the football. In my video about Hollowell Steam Rally, I told you about the amazing atmosphere when we beat the Netherlands to go through to the semis. I watched the semis down my local pub and saw Ollie Watkins score an incredible goal in the 90th minute, taking us through to the finals.
In the European Championship final.
But I have to say, the atmosphere on the night of the finals was definitely not as charged. It was like everybody knew the result before we got to the pub. It was still fun watching it with Mum and Merrick, but no big highs or lows. On the upside, I started my cat toy collection. I found a fun wind-up mouse they are going to love. Morning guys, so today is a special day because it is the annual family gathering. So my mum comes from a very large farming family from Leicestershire, so she was one of 14 brothers and sisters, which is in contrast to my dad who only had one sister. But every year it's kind of a tradition that we all get together, or as many of us who can make it get together, and we just sort of hang out together, catch up on all the news, the gossip, and eat lots of food. So that's what's happening today. And it's kind of special because I'm actually here for it, because usually in the past it was a Christmas tradition. So just before Christmas, that's when the family gathering would take place. But because many members of the family now are getting on a little bit in years, and it's quite difficult to travel long distances in the cold and the dark nights, it's not as nice. So this year Mum has switched it to being in the summer. So from now on I think family gatherings are going to be in the summer, which is good for me because the weather is a little bit more manageable. And yeah, so this year I'm here, well, I've been here for the elections, so I've been to vote. And I'm also here for the family gatherings. So those are two things that I don't usually manage to coincide with. So yeah, we're just going to have a really nice afternoon and it's going to be great to see everybody. Got all the chairs set up, ready for people to arrive. And the table where all the food is going to go. I'm particularly interested in that part of the room. And the garden's looking beautiful. The food is always wonderful. Auntie Muriel made the pudding this year and it was delicious. And soon everything was gone. It was also Mum's birthday, and we had fun with a treasure hunt for presents. Don't worry if you're feeling blue, simply find the key to happiness. Of course it's going to be piano keys. There were strawberries with cream, Stilton on buttered crumpets, don't knock it till you try it, incredible pub grub with my brother at the Navigator in Kilby, the pulled pork burger is a must, and plenty of Mum's amazing cooking. Speaking of food, so I'm heading to Gloucester tomorrow to see my dad and Marilyn, and I just want to wrap up this video with a little surprise that is going to be a lot of fun when I get back to Rwanda. This parcel has arrived, and if I can find something to open it with, I will show you what is inside, but I'm super excited. So yes, this is my big treat to myself. I am a huge Hot Ones fan, and I've always had this slightly masochistic desire to try the bomb. And I thought, well, hell, if I'm going to do it, let's do it in style, and maybe even do the first Hot Ones challenge in Rwanda, because I think that would be really good fun if I can find anybody to do it with me. And with that said, it was time for one last drink with Mum and Merrick at the Cellar Bar. This is a tradition that was started during a particularly dark period in village history, when the pub had to shut for refurbishment. A different house hosts the bar each time, and it's a chance to catch up with friends and neighbours. So yeah, now I'm ensconced in Gloucester, and over the next few videos we'll probably do a few day trips with my dad and Marilyn, and I'll just show you around. So I hope you enjoy, and see you in the next one.